And we're back. Good, good, good. All right. Back live. Yes. Good. Hopefully everything's working. Type 1 in the chat if you can see the stream. If it's working, let me know. Good, good. Awesome. Perfect. Good. I just had to reset it now. The format is correct. So when I record videos for today. Apparently we got some broken stuff here. What's broken?
Insurrection Prime Farm. What I'm doing here is running Cenotaph with Divinity, hopping my well, and then as soon as the boss spawns, I'm going to shoot one of his weak points with Div, and as soon as...
Oh, no. You're shooting the boss with Div, and people are able to... Oh, God. The cheese is crazy, dude. What's this? One-shot melee build? Yeah. Oh, no. Caliban's hand version?
Ashes, and you need the radiant on melee hits one, I believe.
Oh, God. The glitches, dude. There's so many glitches right now. So many glitches. What? That's crazy. One melee and he kills him? Jeez. So much that Bungie will not cover in Destiny 2. Lots of crazy stuff going on, chat. Why everyone wants a live service would definitely have to watch that later. Look at this PUBG mobile gameplay. What happened to this game, dude? PUBG mobile. There's a guy. Look at this game. Look at this game. There's 3 guys riding on top of a T-Rex. This guy shoots the T-Rex in the ass, spawns butterfly wings, flies over to the nearest building, lures the team here, uses butterfly wings to, like fairy wings, dude. Flies on top of the garage here. What the hell happened to this game, dude? That guy spawns in, starts shooting a car. What? What is going on? Brain rot. This is crazy. We got AI teammates in here too. My God. Oh God. Oh God. Marathon. We got to talk about Marathon again. All right. All right. Here we go. We're talking about the Forbidden Game once more, chat. Let's do this. Oh, no. We're talking about the Forbidden Game once more. This time, Marathon is running out of casual player onboarding cards to play. This is actually an excellent bit of criticism, though, because if you don't know, when you're launching a game, whether it's successful or not at the beginning, you definitely need to have a few cards up your sleeve, right? You need to have a contingency plan, which I'm assuming that's what Bungie is executing right now. However, it would seem as though it is not working. Look at this. This is failed. This 10,000 players in the 24-hour peak. Oh my God. Say it's not so, dude. This thing is cooked. There ain't no way this game even finishes this season. And at the time I'm recording this, they literally just uploaded marathon key dates. So you've got the mid-season begins July 21st. So we're a month away. We are 1 month away. Look at this graph. We are 1 month away from just the mid-season. And then we got to do it all over again just to finish season 2. Oh my. They got a bunch of things they're trying to do to update the game. And obviously, it ain't going too well for them. And like Paul said, they're running out of casual player onboarding cards. Like there's only so much you can do to get people to play before eventually you have to throw your hands in the air and say, yeah, it's completely fucking cooked, man. Destiny 2 is now over. Oh man, that hurts. That hurts just to hear that.
Guardian down.
And even if its lingering player count is encouragingly high, nothing is going to change on that front anytime soon. Now, Bungie, whatever is left of it, will be banking almost entirely on Marathon. Short of some incubation project finally getting... Dude, there's no... This incubation project is not real. It's about as real as Santa Claus. There's no way that they're going to get anything approved after running Destiny 2 in the ground, after running Marathon on the ground. There's just no way. Even if they did have an incubation idea, let's say they had something, anything, the Destiny dating sim for crying out loud. Even this is going to get allocated to other devs at this point in time because they're not giving these guys any more projects. There's just no way. Marathon has one main issue at this point. It's got more than one. It's got about a dozen. And that is getting players to play. Expectations that this is going to be some huge flagship game from Bungie may have been unreasonable, but that's the position it was put in. But now we're getting to a point where it's sinking even below hardcore niche. What's more niche than niche? What's a niche of a niche? A super hardcore, super niche, super not talked about game, super unpopular. It's a niche of a niche of a niche. As the numbers keep dropping with no signs of reversal. The name of the game within Bungie right now is attracting more players through onboarding. That's a great idea, though the problem here is that Bungie has done almost everything possible to do that with the Season 2 launch of Marathon, and it still hasn't worked. Among the changes, they did a new Cradle skill point system that allows you to junk gear in exchange for early, easy-to-grab upgrades that are no longer hidden behind lengthy vendor grinding, including valuable quality of life stats like heat reduction. Overall improved acceleration of seasonal/vendor XP for faster movement through the season, offsetting at least some of the backtracking from a full seasonal reset. What is effectively a permanent sponsored kit mode across a few different maps that allows players to go in with a free kit, risking nothing in the mode. Season 1 has a PvP version, and Season 2 version is, and it obviously hasn't landed really well for them. Some of these changes, I mean, here's the thing. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, right? It's like, honestly, it's like the expression polishing a turd, right? You can polish it as much as you want, but it's still a turd at the end of the day. It could be the most beautiful, most shiny, sparkling turd of all the turds, but it's still a turd. Almost accidentally, the new map variant Dire Marsh, which opened with a sponsored version, was the game's first look at a near PvE mode. Yeah, I loaded it and I played for 20 minutes. I was looking left and right, checking my 6. There was no one. The game was like glitched at the start. There's supposed to be rooks in there, but it was just me in the gigantic map Dire Marsh with 2 random crew-filled blueberries roaming around for 20 minutes, looting boxes and shooting UESC with only 1 team on the map. It was supposed to be swarmed with rival rooks, but that did not pan out most of the time, and most runs were just fighting bots to extract, a glimpse of what a true version of PvE Marathon, a much requested option, might look like. Now, I think there's an interesting caveat here. Even though there is a requested option of a PvE Marathon, I don't think the idea is let's take an extraction shooter and then let's like remove all the people, but then and then we'll just play that instead, right? I don't really think that's the catch or the idea that people had in mind. I think what people were at least conceptualizing is something of the Destiny style, strikes, public events, missions. I don't know. There's lots of different avenues you could go down, but as it stands right now, that tension that's created with extraction where the other teams are potentially going to shoot you, removing that just makes the game really bland and really shows how empty the game is, especially compared to a game like Destiny 2 that's had so much time to develop some of those core systems that make even doing a public event kind of interesting. Like if you go right now and do a public event in Destiny 2, obviously there's distortions, which is pretty cool. But even before distortions, you have countless different builds that you could be experimenting with, different guns that you could test out. You have catalysts that you could finish, bounties that you could do. There's lots of different things you could be doing at that stage in time, which kind of adds to that flavor. And Marathon does have a semblance of some of that stuff, right? There are essentially like bounties or objectives you can do, but the depth just isn't there, right? Marathon is not nearly as deep of a game as Destiny 2, not just because of an extraction shooter, but also because of the time that's taken to, it's taken however many years took to make Destiny 2 plus the 8+ years of development afterwards. There was a free 10-day trial for Marathon at Season 2 launch that allowed access to effectively the entire game. This is the second time something similar has been done, with the free server slam for partial game access available ahead of release. There are a lot of genuinely good ideas in there, but each of them has come with significant problems, and they are cards that cannot really be played again, given what's happened. I mean, if we did the free-to-play card for a 10-day trial, I mean, what are we going to do? The mid-season update's going to drop, right? On, when was that? July 21st? Are we going to do another 10-day free trial? Are we just going to make the latter half of the season completely free? Are we going to go full free-to-play? Right? There's certain things that need to be tried and experimented with in order to give the game a chance. It does feel like we've gotten to the end of the road, as much as I hate to be so pessimistic. Like, I tried to be as optimistic as I could for Marathon, truly. Like, you guys know I played it 150 hours when it came out. I bought it 3 times. I bought it for me, and I bought both my friends that I play PvP with the game, just so I could have a team, a consistent team of sweaty people, so we could actually run around and, we did everything we could to enjoy it, but the game, unfortunately, does not have mass appeal. The game needs to die. And then we need to start making Destiny 3. What are we doing? Stop this. Stop the madness. Stop it now. So we got the Cradle/XP. While it's good for new players, veteran players found they could rack up high value loot quickly, right? They're getting purples and golds like on day 1. We talked about this. And many had maxed out their stat points within days, meaning new players were even further behind more quickly than usual. Cradle points, in terms of pure gameplay, are arguably more important than the sped up XP/vendor changes. Bungie also then nerfed Cradle progression, so players felt the ladder had pulled up from behind the early grinders, right? And sponsored kits, they do create a level playing field above and beyond anything else in the game. The problem there is that you are effectively removing half of what makes an extraction shooter in the first place, loading up with a good kit, and taking on other geared players at the risk of losing everything. The idea with Sponsored was to get good gear to take into the real modes, but often players would just stay there and not make the leap. If they did, that's where they would run into an aforementioned incredibly strong, more veteran players. And this is true. I will say this, though, that there's always going to be a trade-off for anything that's added to a game. Whether you add a good change or a bad change, there is a trade-off always. right? And we've seen this with some things in Destiny 2, specifically that were a trade-off that had some negatives, but you would still accept the trade-off. I'll give you a good example. The one that comes to mind is build crafting and the development of subclass 3.0. I think that when we first got like Void 3.0 with the Witch Queen, we were chilling. We're like, this is crazy. We can do some crazy stuff now. It was pretty cool. And then we got eventually, Arc and Solar and all the, darkness subclasses as well. And then we got Prismatic, right? At a certain point, right? We kept getting these new things. It got too far, though. Eventually, you kind of started playing the game, and the first person shooter game turned into first person spam your grenade, spam your ability game. And it's not that you couldn't just shoot your guns. Of course, you could. But when the game is scaled to the activities, being around whatever the most powerful loadout is, shooting your guns being the weakest option compared to spamming grenades and spamming melees ended up kind of being a problematic thing in the end, right? So there was a trade-off, right? And I do think that build crafting was still a really good idea. I think that subclass 3.0 breathed new life into Destiny in some new ways that created a new audience that really likes that style of play, or they like build crafting. They like, really diving into the weeds and playing and adding as much agency as possible. That is a super cool thing to have an option in Destiny 2. We just got maybe a little too far along with it at a certain point. And so there's a trade-off, right? We got too far with that. We have to knock it back a little bit. They kind of did that with the June update to some degree. And some of these ideas, they're actually not terrible ideas. The problem is, like we said before, it's these changes aren't making a meaningful difference to the population and to the growth of the game, which really only tells you one thing, that the game itself at a core fundamental level is just lacking something. And even if it's not the worst game ever, let's say it's not actually as bad as Concord, which I personally don't believe it's as bad as Concord. Go watch some Concord gameplay. That shit was terrible. Even if it's not as bad as that, it's bad enough to just cancel the project. It is beyond bad enough to just cancel the project. And the fact that it still goes on, even in the face of all this adversity, and even becoming like the laughing stock of the games industry, it's quite the decision, Bungie. It truly is quite the decision. I wonder how long they want to continue this one for, right? I wonder how long they're going to let these charades play out before eventually they throw in the towel. The free trial on the second attempt, this one more elaborate than the server slam, it simply has not moved the needle. There was little retention and few converted sales. The problem shown here is not just that free trials don't do much, but the often cited emergency button of making the game free to play likely wouldn't do much of anything. And when we cite turnarounds like that, what happened with Rainbow Six Siege, that conversion was a key part of that. That's true. And a lot of people said that stop criticizing Marathon. Marathon is a great game. You're just rage baiting, and if anyone actually played the game, they would really like it. And that was the goal that a lot of people have put forward, and the narrative that's gone forward from a lot of Marathon enthusiasts. And that's a perfectly fine opinion if you want to have that. But now, unfortunately, we do have the data of what the game looks like when it does go free to play, and it's not good, right? Even when the game is fully free to play, people are not choosing to play this game. And when they do play the game during free to play, when we got a small spike in population, they clearly did not stick around, as we're now dipping below 10,000 as our 24-hour peak. It's pretty brutal. From here, Marathon is about to trial a PvE mode that is actually meant to be fully PvE, rather than what sponsored Night Dire Marsh ended up being. Again, many players continue to request such a mode, and once such a thing arrives, if it impresses people, that could be a good result. Yeah, nah, it's not going to land that way, dude. It ain't going to be a good result. Though for players who don't own the game, it would be a $40 good. Gotcha. There's also the once unthinkable idea that Marathon could slowly shift its genre, right? You're going to turn it into a Destiny game. Is that what the goal is here? We're quickly learning that there's really no such thing as perceived non-hardcore extraction in Marathon, and it may have to bend and bend to create new experiences that draw in players allergic to the genre. Yes, we need to create an elaborate psyop to convince people to play this game and to get them in, lure them in with something super casual, and then see if they'll play Extraction. It's just not going to work, guys. It's really not going to work. Many are already wondering if it might introduce arena or battle royale modes. They don't have the budget for that, let's be real. Though that is wildly harder than it may sound, with the game not designed or balanced for such a thing. As current players note, focusing on that would take away from those who do love the game for what it is now. That's another key element. The 1.2 million that bought the game did buy it for an extraction shooter, even if they're not playing anymore, right? And they want to continue to see iteration on that side rather than potential abandonment. It's like it's the crazy part about this. It's like they launched this game in Destiny 2 Edge of Fate levels of disaster, maybe even Renegades level of disaster. Like they immediately launched it worse than Destiny 2 had ever been. And it feels like we're doing the same sort of panic thing that we did with Destiny. We're like, do this, do that, do this, do that, right? Try this, try that. And Bungie has clearly lost the plot when it comes to game development. So now they're just scrambling in every which way. And it's honestly just sad to see. It's sad because it could have been so much more, right? It didn't have to be like this. With Destiny 2 dead, even in the wake of large-scale layoffs, there will be hundreds of people working on Marathon, including the lucky, mentioned in the Paul Tassi article, few people over Destiny already. That means the potential is there to create more content more quickly than other games in the genre, as that is a large team compared to most of its genre competitors. So that can work in its favor. It's true, it's possible. Like I said, they could get a Forsaken level chance, perhaps, but would Sony be willing to greenlight something like that? I highly doubt it. As it stands, many current Marathon players are upset with the direction of Season 2. We've seen that. We've covered that recently. Namely, how initial gearing and progressing issues sort of sank it from the outset. Yep. You can't have a hard reset and then let people gear back up the next day. That kind of negates the entire reset, right? And Marathon is also being battered around again as a result of Destiny 2 putting up 10x. That's what I'm talking about. It's putting up 10 times the numbers in its final update. A fresh round of anger than it was chosen over D2, though obviously content production costs are a fair bit lower. Sony is giving Marathon time, but even pulling out a number of stops already, the game will have to really dig in to find something that works soon. That's true. It's not looking good for our friends over there on Marathon. It ain't looking good, right? And you would think that there's a chance. I thought in my mind, this was the last ditch ever. This is what I thought. Maybe after the June update, right? Which is June 9th right here. This was going to tank Marathon's population for sure, right? It went from 25,000 to Destiny 2's update to 19,000, 17, 15, right? It quickly evaporated. I thought maybe after people were done playing the June 9th update, after a week or so, they would come back to Marathon. We're at the 2-week mark right now. 2 weeks playing June 9th update. People are still playing Destiny 2. Look at these charts. Right now, 85,000 people online, 106,000 in the last 24 hours. People are logging in like crazy to play Destiny 2 still. This update is incredible. And not sadly, because Destiny is definitely the better game, but almost sadly is that if they didn't make such a good update, maybe some of these people would be playing Marathon, which sounds awful because I would much rather play this, of course. But Destiny 2 having such an incredible update definitely overshadows the pile of dog shit that is Marathon right now, especially Season 2. And I just don't see it coming back. The only idea that could maybe possibly be floating around for Bungie and Sony right now is that once these players get tired of it, right? Once these 85,000 people, these 100,000 people that have been online every day, once they get tired of Destiny 2, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now, maybe they will begin to drift over into Marathon. And whether or not that happens, it remains to be seen. We're going to have to take our time and see if that's the outcome. I'm highly skeptical of that being the outcome at this point in time, but we have to wait. We have to wait another 2-3 weeks and we'll be monitoring the situation closely. Let me know what you think about the situation down in the comment section below, and make sure to subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Later. One and only with the tier 1 in 48 months. W in the chat for one and only. What's good? Thank you, one and only. How do I get the white ghost badge? I think that was one we did a while ago, and I don't think you can get it anymore. We'll bring it back sometime. All right, let's cover this. I think this is interesting. Bungie is getting desperate. It is not looking good for Marathon. If you haven't seen the population numbers, they're hitting below 10K in their 24-hour peak. And now they have dropped their roadmap, which has their key dates, which honestly, still a little salty that we never got our roadmap, our multi-year roadmap. They have a multi-season roadmap now, which leads only one season further. Previously, they were talking about seasons 3, 4, and 5. However, with the season 2 like population going so bad right now, I don't think they want to talk about anything happening in season 4 or 5, because I don't know if this game's going to make it to season 4 or 5. At this stage, this game is going to be borderline unplayable by the end of season 2, and GTA is about to be the nail in the coffin for this game. Season 3 is going to begin on September 22nd. All right, GTA comes out in November. We'll see. All right, here it is. As we move deeper into the new season, we want to share some important dates coming up for Marathon. So you got the mid-season update is July 21st. So right now it is June 23rd. So we're a month away from the mid-season update. The lowest population numbers we have ever seen in this game. Season 2 just launched, what, 3 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago, Season 2 launched. The lowest population numbers. We're already back down to lower numbers than the end of Season 1. Like, we are cooking worse than Season 1 already. And you still have another month before the mid-season update. This is bad. This ain't looking good. First up, the mid-season update will start on July 21st, and it's going to include the Vault Breaker, which is their way of getting you into their end game PvE map where you fight the compiler, but the twist is there's no other people. So an extraction shooter without people. Quite the crazy premise, I guess. Marathon's experimental PvE mode, Vault Breaker, explore Cryo Archive as a crew, duo, or solo player. Take you on a progressively challenging series of vaults, right? This is what you're reduced to. If you can't get people to play your game, you have to make an extraction shooter game into a PvE game. Because ain't nobody playing it. So you literally have to turn it into a PvE. That's crazy. Grow stronger across multiple matches with progression that's unique to Vault Breaker, and push towards the final vault at the mysterious entity within. Vault Breaker requires a special sponsored kit to queue up, and any gear or items you find stay behind when you exfil? What? What is the whole point? If you load in with a sponsored kit, but then you can't take anything behind when you exfil? Is this just to educate people on how to play the map? That's so odd. The exception to this is the Vault Data. This new currency is found within vaults, and when you extracted, can be exchanged for upgrades to your Vault Breaker sponsored kits. Oh, they're leaning in even heavily into the sponsored kits. This is an interesting premise. This is a very, very, very casual attempt at playing Marathon right now, right? If you don't understand what's going on, they did these specific maps that are sponsored kit playlists. You can only go in with sponsored kits, which creates a level playing field where you and the other teams have exactly the same level of gear and shields, right? But the problem is that the whole premise of an extraction shooter is to get geared up and to get like fulfill that power fantasy, get super, super powerful, and then run around essentially like a raid boss and stomp the noobs. But a lot of people aren't really enjoying that. I mean, whatever people are playing the game, and they really like the sponsored kits. So they decided to take sponsored kits and mix that together with what looks like their map Cryo Archive, because that map isn't a part of the sponsored kit playlist. It's just Dire Marsh. So they could combine these two elements together to get people in Cryo. And you're going to leave there with basically just like 2 tokens and a blue, it sounds like, which is pretty crazy in 2026. This lets you experience Cryo Archive without flooding the economy with low risk, high power cryo loot. Wow. The Cradle Evolution system, if you don't know, this thing has been quite controversial for Season 2. They launched this bad boy and it was easily exploitable. So people that were veterans, people that were min-max, people that were cheesers, all right, looking at you, Destiny players. Yeah, I know you're cheesing. Don't act like you aren't subscribed to Cheese Forever. They loaded in and they quick farmed up purple gear and gold gear in day 1 and had like vaults filled with over 1 million credits. And then they nerfed the Cradle system. So now the people that didn't take advantage of the cheese have the FOMO of not taking advantage of it. And they also have to deal with getting punished by running around against literal raid boss level people while they're with their lowly peasant no mod LMGs and gray shields. Mid-season also brings the first iteration of the Cradle Evolution system. Upon maxing out your Cradle, you'll now be able to reset back to 0 to earn 1 additional maximum energy point and unlock unique cosmetics, including multiple runner shell styles. Okay, this is some, play to win level stuff. This is good. We like stuff like this. These cosmetics will be available later in the season, but if you unlock them ahead of time, you'll automatically receive them once they're available. Interesting. So they'll be made available, but you can get them early by grinding the game. Right? With this change, Cradle progression speeds will also be increased. There it is. So this is actually a good change because what it's doing is it's answering the frustrations that the players had. It might be a little too late because we're like 3 weeks in, but the frustration was that the Cradle system was much easier early on and people took advantage of it. Now they're going to regress the system back to where it was, basically resetting it back to the beginning. However, they're going to incentivize the super hardcore people to refresh the whole thing for added cosmetics. Will this work? Will people do this? Probably. I mean, if you're out there really wanting to grind Marathon and playing it all the time, then you'll probably want those cosmetics, I suppose. So I think that this is probably the right change. This will alleviate some of those frustrations. But like I said, it's probably a little too late because the people that were playing were super frustrated and have already left the game at this stage, right? We've got more to come. Various other quality of life, tuning, and other changes, including the addition of player profile stats. And here it is, Season 3 mentioned. Ooh, the fabled Season 3. Are we going to make it there? I wonder. September 22nd. Looking further ahead, Season 3 will begin on September 22nd and brings big changes to the early game experience. Oh, they're working on the onboarding, including a revamp of Perimeter to add major new areas, encounters, and gameplay. Season 3 also introduces a new runner shell. Wow, another one. New weapons and equipment, and lots of other content and surprises. We'll share more details about mid-season, including a full rundown on Vault Breakers and our Season 3 plans as we get closer to their live dates. So there you have it. That is Bungie's plan. That's Bungie's roadmap for Marathon. That's how they're adjusting to the backlash, to the criticism, to all these various different issues. That's where the future updates are heading towards. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. I think overall, there's some good, some bad decisions mixed in there. But mostly, like we said, I think that even if they made across the board the very best decisions for Marathon, I just don't know that it's going to add up to the game growing and thriving in the way in which they need it to right now, especially considering it's their only game. So even with all this, I don't know that it's going to happen. But Right now, there are a lot of devs being thrown onto the project, and this is going to work in two different ways. One, it's going to make it so that they could potentially put in a big update, maybe season 3, maybe season 4, to give the game kind of a Forsaken level update to see if the game can finally stand on its own 2 feet. If they do that, the downside of that is that if it doesn't land well, if they try to do a Forsaken level update in Marathon and it doesn't land well, they are completely done. The layoffs are announced the next day, right? So that's one downside to it. The other side to it is that if they give it enough time, right? Maybe with time, it's a slow grower, right? Some of us were growers and others are showers. Right? Marathon might just be a grower. Maybe it slowly builds its niche audience up into a sizable, healthy audience with time. I highly doubt that's the outcome, but that might be their strategy. They're going to go one way or the other, right? There's just no way that this game is currently sustainable for 2 years at this growth rate, at this population level. In 2 years, this game will be 1000% dead at this rate. There is no way any human will be playing Marathon in 2028 if something big doesn't change pretty soon. What will that big thing be? Is it even possible? People will continue to debate. Marathon will continue to try to do the best it can, and we'll see what the outcome is. So make sure you're subscribed, and we'll keep you up to date. This was always just a beta? It's hard to say. I put in 300 hours in Marathon Season 1 just for Bungo to fix what wasn't broken, including making free kits just a fucking pistol. I barely put in 20 hours in Season 2 with everything they did. Damn. Oh, shit. The grim industry summer continues as EA lays off staff ahead of $55 billion sale in Saudi. Oh, the layoffs are about to be brutal. This one's interesting. Why everyone wants a live service game? Why do you think all these companies want this? Live service, man. Live service. Should Destiny 3 be a live service, just a campaign, or something else entirely? Dude, Destiny 3 being just a campaign, honestly, that would be super depressing, but it's better than nothing if that's all they could afford. Here's the thing I would say. If they could... Okay, we got to get it. This is going to be a whole video. All right, here we go. Here we go. This is a whole video. This is a whole video right here. This is wild. Bungie is at a crossroads. Should Destiny 3 be a live service game, which is what Destiny 2 was, which these games have been really, really struggling right now? Or should it be just a campaign, which is kind of crazy? I mean, we would be losing quite a bit. Or something else entirely. This is what people are debating right now with PC Gamer in this article. I would say this, that if we could start off with something small, like a Destiny 1 remastered, which isn't that like $500 million price tag, or even if it was technically just a campaign to start, and we sort of proved to the world that we really want more, maybe we could build up from there. I think that would be an interesting premise. I would buy it. Obviously, I would buy it. I would be pretty sad with a game that doesn't have raids and dungeons, though, or strikes. Are we even going to have a social space? Like, what is going on, right? Obviously, this would reduce the budget by a ton and maybe make Destiny obtainable, like a Destiny 3 obtainable. But man, that would be quite the compromise. Right? That would be quite the compromise. Bungie has always struggled to figure out what Destiny actually is and how to support it. True, the game has so many moving parts, it's hard to decide. Obviously, I want live service. Obviously, like if we, in our perfect world, right, just to, cut out all the BS. Of course, we want it to be Destiny 2, but more, right? Destiny 2, but better. The problem is that with the current iteration of Destiny 2 and with the current team at Bungie, they ran that project into the ground. Could rebooting exactly Destiny 2 style, but Destiny 3 with a new narrative and new characters, could that be successful? I think yes, but it's risky right now at a time when a lot of these companies are very, very hesitant to take risky moves. They're trying to take the most conservative moves possible. They want games to have smaller budgets, so that way there's less risk of colossal failure like Concord. Unfortunately, the Concord ripple effect has hit us now as well, because Concord burned $400 million in like one day. Now these game studios are very reluctant to give the green light to projects that are of that size because there's a chance it could flop. I think we've pretty much proven, though, that Destiny 3 would not flop like that, but even the development of this project wouldn't come out until 5 years from now. Are you guys even going to still be here? I know some of you are pretty old. You better lock in. I joke, of course, but Destiny 3 being a live service would be peak. That would be the best, but maybe we're going to have to compromise some things. We've been talking about this. Maybe we don't have Gambit. Maybe we don't even have Crucible for a little bit of time. I don't know. If we can't agree to something, though, if our only solution is Destiny 3, $500 million or bust, which honestly, I kind of like that, that could be problematic because the answer might be bust. The answer might be nothing ever. Now that Destiny 2's massive final update is here, it's more or less set in stone forever. Destiny is calcified. No more FOMO. No need to regrind gear. And the end of a seasonal treadmill. That should make me sad, and it does. More so because it's over rather than it's easing off the gas. I've always loved playing it, so seasonal updates were a good excuse to keep looting and shooting, but there's no avoiding that. At times, playing Destiny was a chore of Bungie's own design. I've played Destiny for most of my life, as strange as that is to say. Destiny 1 came out when I was in high school, and Destiny 2 caught the tail end of it. Thousands of hours over the past decade, hundreds more watching lore videos. So, pondering what's next for the franchise feels very poignant. Why do the journalists always have to throw these crazy hard words in here, man? Poignant? What is this? What does this mean? Am I saying that right? Is it a silent G? With the threat of a power cap increase or power creep removed, you're now free to do whatever you want, whenever you want. You don't need to race through quests to be raid ready or complete seasonal tasks and grind specific god rolls before they vanish into oblivion. And honestly, it's bliss. Hey, are you telling me that less is more? Is that what you're telling me? Look, I do like that there's no reason to grind Destiny. There's no like FOMO right now, but the live service treadmill of sorts, it's like it can be a bit obnoxious, but if you want to play a game, if you want to play an IP, that reason being there is a good thing, right? And I know that sometimes our lives, like you need to go do some stuff in real life and you don't have time for games anymore, especially a game like Destiny that's pretty grindy. So I totally understand that feeling and that sentiment where the treadmill of Destiny 2 is always running and maybe you just need to like not hop off for a little bit. And that definitely sucks because you kind of want to keep that consistency. You want to be there. You want to be up to date on things, right? But unfortunately, it's like it's a trade-off, right? You need that treadmill because it's always something new. It's always something new. And then, when you jump back in, there's something interesting. It's not just the same thing that you left the game in 3 years, but I understand the sentiment changing where the treadmill has stopped effectively, and it does feel different, and it's kind of relaxing in some ways, but I think it will obviously feel much worse 6 months from now. We'll see. Ironically, this is basically how Destiny used to be. The first game was built around major expansions, which would see the player count naturally rise and fall off in accordance. And this is how Destiny 2 began as well. However, at some point, we all became fed up with the idea that we'd run out of new things to do and play something else for a while. and to the live servicification of Destiny, giving rise to unceasing seasonal updates. This is the golden age, dude. And yearly expansions to keep the good times flowing. There was always something to do. It was the everything game. It had your PvE, it had your PvP. You could never run out of stuff for a while because there was so much to do. As fun as this era was, it's clear that it was practically impossible to sustain for Bungie. And I would say this, if it's impossible to sustain, right? You scale your business up, you monetize in other ways. If you get lightning in a bottle, right? You don't want to squander it. And that's what Destiny was, lightning in a bottle. Live service games are expensive, and Bungie was one of the very few attempting it from a predominantly PvE angle. This is true. Live service in PvP is a whole nother ballpark, and those games are easier to maintain and sustain. The PvE angle live service, that's a lot harder because PvP has this weird ingrained replayability because you're playing different people every time, or at least you should be. And it's a little bit easier, I think, to sustain that for live service versus PvE, where you kind of play one activity and then when you play it the second time, it's not as satisfying, and the third time, and it's like you see those diminishing returns where when you do a raid or strike for the 100th time, it's nowhere near as exciting, exhilarating. It doesn't hit the dopamine levels as that first time clearing it, especially if it was like in contest or, if it was a sweaty run or something. This is where content tends to be very one and done, exactly, compared to indefinitely queuing multiplayer matches in Call of Duty, which is what this is why, in part, they were trying to come up with the Portal, because they wanted to create a higher degree of replayability for those PV activities, because they're normally one and done. You do the raid once, I did the raid, I'm done. But what if you did the raid, and that's not what the Portal is, but what if you did the raid and there was all these different modifiers and things that could change and different enemies and different challenges, and it would change the activity so that way, even if you did it once or 10 times, each one of those 10 times would be vastly different from the first time. That's the idea behind it. That's the idea behind these modifiers and behind these changes. It obviously didn't land very well with the Portal, but this is the only natural progression that you could go in. You either modify activities to change them and get higher replayability, or you have to just keep pumping out new things, more and more and more, which is really hard to do. That might be the better route. I don't know. With time, maybe we'll have more advanced technology and be able to pull it off. But for now, that was the hardest thing to do because these environments and these skyboxes are super expensive to make. So the idea of just releasing a new strike every week from now until the end of time is just not sustainable at this point in time, but maybe in the future. You would either get that outcome basically, or if you get on the modifier outcome, you could get the same strike for 6 months, let's say, or let's say 3 months even, and every week there's a new modifier, a new change to it, and something would drastically change. So you've done the same strike so many times, but they're changing it in more subtle ways to make the replayability less chore-like. Call of Duty, for example, plus forcing every story arc to fit a weekly cadence like a TV show wasn't ideal either. Yet we saw that was problematic at times. It didn't work for Bungie, and I'd argue it didn't really work for us either. From my observations, the community is oddly happier with the game in its current state, in spite of it being the end. I don't know about that one, dog. I mean, we're happy with the June 9th update because it allows the entirety of the game to be playable with the new updated, refreshed loot system, the tiered loot. And, that's just a good update, that allows you to play the game as much as possible. If what he's posing is the idea that we go back to a box product game, I mean, it's not impossible. We've talked about this extensively on the channel, and it could work out, but when you're the pioneers of live service and you have to regress your game back to box product, the optics don't look very good. And I don't know if Bungie's going to be especially enthusiastic about it. I don't know if Sony's going to be enthusiastic about it, right? Sony and their live service ambitions, that's why they got into this $3.6 billion fiasco in the first place. So to tell you that you spent those $3 billion on a live service game just to actually get a box product game, that might piss them off, right? Of course, people are enjoying the new content, but mostly I think we're enjoying being able to play Destiny without the pressure. It's nice, isn't it? Plus, I'm older now and have less time to dedicate to one, let alone multiple live service games. It's an existential threat to a game like Destiny, where the most diehard fans who picked up the game for the first time in their 20s will now be in their late 30s or 40s by the earliest time Destiny 3 could arrive. Every time I ask my chat, how old are you? There's definitely a lot of people, 20s, 30s, 40s, people even in their 50s, right? I haven't seen anyone type in the chat that they're in their 60s, though. No, I haven't seen anyone in the 60s or in the 70s. No one's quite that old gaming yet. Anyone in this chat? Comment down below. I figure Bungie will have a hard time getting everyone on board for a return to the seasonal treadmill or convincing a new generation away from their already established live service mainstays. It's going to be, like I said, not developing Destiny 3 years ago was the biggest mistake, man. So in the theoretical situation where we eventually get a Destiny 3, my big question would be, what form would it take? Maybe an MMO-like subscription model would be a better support and sequel designed from the ground up to be the live service MMO Destiny 2 aspired to be. It's possible. I could see that working. It would also help with streamlining people getting into the game where, you just subscribe for $7.77 and you can play the game perhaps. And if you only want to play for a month, you can turn your subscription off. And if you want to play for 12 months, you can just keep it on. It might work. I know not everyone's especially enthusiastic about more subscriptions, but they have to have some type of monetization strategy, right? But perhaps not, since there are very few MMOs left standing these days. The MMOs are dying apparently, and maintaining this would be an expensive venture. And that from the ground up bit is an important note, as Destiny 2's dated infrastructure has constantly shot Bungie in the foot, most obviously in the form of the Destiny content vault that removed a whole chunk of the game. Maybe Bungie opts for a smaller spin-off of games to more economically tell stories in the same universe, akin to Halo 3 ODST and Halo Reach. I miss the days of focused shooter campaigns and some tacked-on multiplayer, and I love Destiny's world, so I'm not opposed to this at all. However, it would feel like a bit of a gut punch, downsizing one of the biggest franchises in gaming. It would feel like a gut punch, but if that's all that we can get, hey, we'll take it. We'll play the new campaign only Destiny 3 if that's the only option we have. And hopefully it performs well enough that it gives the green light to more projects, right? This is something that we needed to. Why is there men's bulge on my screen right now? What the hell? Hey, what the this is kind of sus, dude. Let me scroll down here a little bit lower. Despite the inherent risk, I'd argue it's best we return to a full-fledged expansion schedule and sequels, and come to peace with the fact that it's all right to put a game down once you've had enough to return when something's piqued your interest. More time to develop large expansions, more time for game-changing sequels. That's effectively how Borderlands works. We're going back, dude. We're going back to Borderlands. All right? It started with Borderlands, and it's going back, I guess. I don't know, man. I feel like it's hard to describe. I wish that there was a way that live service didn't have to be so ridiculously expensive. The biggest thing that I point to is figuring out the budgeting of this and making it work. Because when you have such a successful game for so long, and to end the whole thing just because you can't figure out your budgeting problem, you're like, well, I guess we just got to kill this multi-billion-dollar product because we can't figure out how to budget accordingly. It's like, dude, lock the fuck in. What are we doing? How are you going to kill something this successful? I would understand if Destiny 2 kept its 2 raids, 2 dungeons a year format, its seasonal format, if they upped everything, dude, more strikes, more crucible maps, if they did all of that, if that's what Edge of Fate was, and the population still nosedived, I would be like, all right, look, like clearly we were done. You know what I'm saying? Like clearly the Guardians were ready to head out and play other games, and it was over for Destiny. But that's not what happened. We got the exact opposite. We got less and less and less and less content to the point where it was just bone dry, and the decisions they did make, unfortunately, didn't land very well. And then they had to kill it, right? And that's the big problem that we have right now. And it sucks because we really need to stick to the original blueprint. Right? Go back to Destiny 1 and play that game, and everything should feel like Destiny 1 to some degree. The gunplay being centered Countless things, dude. Countless mistakes could have been avoided if we just kept true to the original vision of Destiny 1, in my opinion. Whatever the approach, it's clear that change is required. Destiny 2 died for a multitude of reasons, but new player onboarding, removing content, and the maligned portal system are among the largest. These issues can't return, but hopefully the universe of Destiny can. True. True, true, true. So there it is. What do you think Destiny 3 could be? What do you think the trade-off is? Will we ever get anything else in the Destiny universe, or is this going to be something that we talk about for years? I would take anything in Destiny, truly. I mean, I don't want like the Destiny dating sim, like that's some, hot dog water. We don't need that. But what I would like at the minimum, the bare bones would be a Destiny 1 remastered. I'll take that. That could buy us some time. If that can be profitable enough, we could take the profits from that and use that to fund a Destiny 3. I tell you right now, if you told the whole community, I mean, look, I'm not saying we're doing some begging or anything, but if you told the whole community that we're going to do a D1 remastered, and only if this motherfucker sells 10 million copies at $70 a pop are we doing a Destiny 3. I'm telling you, that motherfucker sells 10 million copies, right? That's $700 million. We're going to lock in. We're going to make it happen. The world is going to buy enough. And if you could give us some sort of goal like that, if you could give us something that's like, if you do this, then this, right? I think you'd be surprised what the Destiny community could do. I think you'd be surprised what the larger gaming community would be interested in. And I don't know. It would be a lot, though. 10 million copies for Destiny 1 Remastered. I mean, that is a tough sell, right? That's a lot. I mean, Marathon sold 1.2, but that shit's garbage. I feel like if Marathon sells 1.2, we could at least do 4 million for D1 Remastered, right? At least, right? I hope. The whole reason why I bring it up is just because it would be interesting to see if we could build momentum towards that, if that's the case. Again, this is all just theories and ideas, and this is conversations. But of course, Sony pays attention to this. Bungie pays attention to this. They see these things trending in these conversations, and this is how they pitch their ideas, right? They want to see what the fans want. They want to see what the larger gaming community wants. We are in a really turbulent time right now for gaming, and unfortunately, I don't know if we're gonna see a way out of this anytime soon. A lot of game studios shutting down. A lot of game studios shut down. Holy crap. If you haven't been keeping up with the news, dude, it's dark times, dude. Hot take, the dating simulator wouldn't have done well for longer than a week when no one could find a partner. I think you're like supposed to date people in the game or something. Like it's like you would literally be like dating Marasov or something. Like it's weird. It's weird like that, if I understand correctly. It's a dating simulator. Yeah, it's a dating. It's not like you don't meet real people. It's not like that, I think. I was looking into it. I was looking into it a bit, and it's like it's literally like you talk to the characters in game, and the characters in game you can like say things and do this, and then eventually it leads to you like having a relationship with like fucking Amanda Holiday or something, right? It's the dumbest thing. Yeah, I mean, especially when it's in that game. Yeah, when it's an in-game thing, it's very weird, right? Like when people can't find relationships in real life, which is okay, it's nothing, no shame on that. But when you can't find a relationship in real life, so you resort to finding a fictional relationship in a video game, it's like, man, that's getting a little too weird, guys. We're getting a little too weird. And I'm all for some weird. I'm okay with a little bit of weird. Like maybe a 4 out of 10 on the weird scale. But literally dating and gooning to Amanda Holiday, that's like a 9 out of 10 on the weird scale. It's a little too much. It's just, you know what I'm saying? It's a little too much for me. All right, let's do this update. Updates. Oh, good. Auto updated. They should turn Marathon into a furry dating sim. That would fix it. Honestly. Oh, man. Honestly, that's crazy. You're not wrong. That would honestly be an idea that Bungie would cook up. That would be an idea they would cook up. Turn Marathon into a furry dating sim. Wow. All right, let's get in game here. They'd never let it die. All right, so we got a bunch of things fixed and nerfed and patched and no longer bugged, huh? Things are no longer bugged, it would seem. What do we got here? Hardware mix? Ooh, hardware modifier. Yes, sir. I will take that. Do we get the giveaway this week or next week? It's this week. Oh my god, you're right. The giveaway is today. Let me post on Twitter. You're right. I was been huffing too many fumes. If you don't know, they had to redo the stuff in my bathroom. Let's take a photo of this. I'm gonna send this. We'll put this on Twitter. Here we go. All right. I'm gonna put this in the drive right now. Let's do the raffle for this. Let's do the raffle for this. It is this week, yeah, because the last one was June 9th. So I'm doing them every 2 weeks. This is the last one I'm doing. From now on, all the future ones are going to be sub incentives. So this will be the last free one. But all are welcome to enter. All right, so farm up your points, and we're gonna do this giveaway at 6 p.m. my time. So in 30 minutes, so that way we have KBG can post it on Twitter and everything that we're gonna do it in 30 minutes. We'll get everyone packed in here, and in 33 minutes we'll give that bad boy away. Okay. So farm up your points. Yep, it's a free. We're giving away this Sunshot replica. Yes, this completely free. I was supposed to be live earlier today, but they redid the flooring in the bathroom, and they put down like certain chemicals and stuff, right? And it's like you can't go into the house for like hours afterwards because it's like fumes and shit. Yeah, we're gonna shoot hardware. I've never played hardware before, so what is this? It's like you know abilities. What is happening to my lobby right now? Uh-huh. Rotating modes with hardware modifiers. So different modes with hardware mod. Nice. Very nice. Sick, says Lucid Kills. Yeah, it's all good. Happens, man. It happens. No ability is nice. No ability sounds good to me. Just guns. Perfect. Let's do this then. This is my first ever game of the playlist hardware. Right? This is where you can't use any abilities, just the guns. So let's see what this is all about. How's it feel? A lot of people, they don't like the ability spam. As cool as Subclass 3.0 was, where it added a interesting element of build crafting, it had adverse effects on the Crucible, some would say. Spamming abilities is definitely not it. And people like the classic gunplay. Let's go here. We got different charts. Oh, we're basically playing like in Trials of the Nine. Oh, that I should have killed him right there. What? The final warning, dude. You know what's crazy is that they can remove the abilities, but they're still cheese, dude. That guy is final warning, shooting me around the corner. Wow. Come on, fuck. Of course I get teamed, dude. That's so annoying. Oh, I'm gonna get rezzed? No way. There's no way this guy rezzes me. He's got the Jotun. Oh, yeah, he's trying. Oh, he might get me. Oh, good try, bud. Hell yeah. I respect the effort. Sorry I died early on. It's my fault. We lost. We got elevated gooning on my team. Crazy. We're starting off slow, but we're about to start firing up. Dude, we're about to fire on all fours here in a minute. Be prepared. Hop up there, I fucking dare you. Bro, how many shots you had on that thing? No, that was a good play by him. He backed up. I didn't see him. He was like, he went down the stairs and I just didn't see him at all. Fuck. I think I'm blind or something. I swear. Damn it. We're in trouble now. Down 3 is no bueno. I think we got the good side power spawn. The problem is that guy's going to peek the corner with that damn sidearm. I just know it already. Oh, is there no power? There's no power at all, huh? Better back up. Yeah. Damn. Well, we got clapped. We got clapped. That was one of the games of all time. GG's to them. The dating sim is a gotcha, and Mara would be the highest grossing banner ever. Yeah, you think so? Is that how it's going to go down? Crazy they dropped the last patch. Is that the last patch ever? Are you sure? That's what articles say. Can you send me that? Because they said DMG said last time that they had a few more hot fixes, and this was the first one since he said that. Maybe the last major patch, yeah. Oh, no way, dude. I was about to punch that guy. Why would you even peek that? I've heard the same last patch ever. I want to see a source like to cite that, I guess. I mean, I guess maybe we're just assuming it's the last patch. I mean, we know that there's only a few left, but it probably is like the last big one if I had to guess, but I just want to make sure I accurately represent the situation. No, slide! Why? Why you no slide? Hotfixes versus major patches, two things. Interesting. Either way, even if it's the last of anything, I just want to make sure that like someone at Bungie said that, right? Because otherwise, how would we know it if someone at Bungie didn't say it, I guess? Dude, holy shit. Got you. Who said that? Who said Bungie has released that? What is that quote from? Some DMG on Twitter? Source trust me. No, I'm sure it's from someone good. I just want to make sure I know who it's from. It's from an article that said Bungie released what is considered to be the final patch. Gotcha. So yeah, what is considered? So this is some real fucking source. I made it up level from that article. which is fine. I mean, it's still news if that article wants to say it, and it probably is accurate. It's just interesting. Damn it. Like it's one or two. Yeah. No, get that kill. Thank you. I was gonna say, please get that kill. How are we getting smoked so bad? We won that first round. What the hell? Lock in, monkey. Dude, you're pushing me into the open. Stop it. Yes, let's bring this back. Let's bring this back. Dude, stop dying, dog. Why do you keep doing this? Layoff is literally at the very start of last year. That's what we think it is. We don't have 100% confirmation. I think that's what that one journalist said. I haven't heard enough people talking about it, though, which is weird. More people aren't talking about that date. Dude. That's how you play, dude. Guns only. My left arm and my right arm. Those are my only guns I need, dude. How is this guy? I thought that was a sidearm. I'm like, how is this guy shooting me from here? Oh, Pot. Get a trade, Pot. Get a trade. Pot, you didn't get the trade. You suck. Got power ammo. Uncle's going down, dude. Uncle's dead, dude. What the fuck are you doing over there, Uncle? You guys are throwing so unbelievably hard. Oh. Let's fucking go, my dudes. Oh my god, you guys are throwing so hard. You guys are trying to lose this match, I can tell. I'm literally doing everything I can to win this shit. I can only do so much. I'm like fucking Frodo carrying the fucking ring to fucking Mordor, dude. I just need Samwise to not fucking die every 5 seconds. You guys just peek the lanes and die every time. You guys are so funny. You are actually the funniest team to ever live. Like, how are you guys are not real people? I give up, dude. Why? Why are you like this? Who hurt you? Dude, oh my god. How do you trade there, dog? The guy has 1 HP and you trade with him, huh? I give up. I give up. I'm tired, boss. You just die and die. Why do you guys peek like this? Now I'm getting fucking sandwiched. Should there be a sword slash glaive only mode? I don't think so. It's a first person shooter game, man. People want to shoot the guns. The gunplay is some of the best in the game, in the industry. Shoot the guns, the game. Look at these results, dude. 32. I defeated 32 opponents. God damn. We had a guy on their team that was 5.5 and a guy that was 2.0. I had a guy on my team that was 0.1. 0.1 KD. Incredible. This guy's making Daruz look good. God damn. Lobby balancing. Yes. My favorite. All right, so let's see what this article is. I don't know what's going on with the buttons on this today, but I've clicked the buttons on things.
Guardian down.
Like, and they haven't been functioning. I'm confused. This is a good article, good find on this one. All right, here we go. Here we go. Expect defeat with the tier 1 sub in 10 months. W in the chat for expect defeat. Thank you very much for the tier 1 sub. You're too kind. All right, here we go. It's time. It's time, chat. What up, Hemlock? A bit more effort on my side. Yeah, apparently. It's time. Bungie has just released their last major update for Destiny 2. Oh, it hurts. Say it's not so. Bungie released what many expect to be the last major patch for Destiny 2 following the launch of Monument of Triumph earlier in June, fixing a bunch of issues with the game, including fan favorite boss glitches. So if you don't know, there might be a few other small hot fixes, but this is like, I think this is it. Like, this is like one of the big major ones that's being done. There are a ton of glitches inside Pantheon. I mean, my God, we were covering them all because there's so many. And there might still be a few that squeaked through the cracks. We'll see. June has been a bittersweet month for Destiny 2 fans, knowing that the final pieces of content for the long-running game have finally arrived. Though what Bungie has delivered has proven to be a hit with new and returning players. Following a delay to the Shadow and Order mid-season update that was supposed to launch in March, most fans probably didn't expect to see Destiny 2's Monument of Triumph update signal the end of the game. Yeah, that came out of nowhere, right? We thought for sure there was going to be more because they said, one, they lied, obviously. Lied, or maybe they just were misinformed. I don't know, man. You could take it whichever way you want. They said that there was a multi-year roadmap coming, and then in an instant, they announced that the game was over and dead, dying, done. There was no multi-year roadmap. That was crazy. While the community had to grapple with a range of emotions, knowing the end of the road was now here,
Guardian down.
Bungie made sure that the final update was going to be a substantial one. Not only did it bring back Pantheon and SRL, Bungie added in much more future content as it could, even hinting at a storyline that the studio wasn't able to fully deliver on. With today's update, substantial updates for Destiny 2 are likely coming to a close as well. Yeah, we like that. I like that winnower line. That was good. In what many expect to be the last major patch for Destiny 2, Bungie has seemingly targeted as many glitches, bugs, and other issues as it could. Over the past couple weeks, fans have found ways to cheese Destiny 2 raid and Pantheon bosses. I mean, it's coming full circle, right? We started with cheese, we're ending it with cheese. Specifically, Morgith, Corregos, Argos, and Insurrection Prime. Using a Void Titan, players discovered that by using a crossbow, they could shoot bolts into the core of a Ward of Dawn, then picking up would cause a strange interaction with enemies, essentially flinging them across the map. Using this method, players could launch many of these bosses off the map, confusing the game into thinking they were defeated and giving players an easy farming method for spoils of conquest, catalysts, and other top-tier gear. Yes, that's right. The Destiny 2 team says, thanks for your reports, everyone. We had 2 changes related to the King's Fall and Paleheart armor set bonuses that were slated for next week's patch, but it made it into today's update, yet were not included in the patch notes. Apologies for the confusion. Okay, as it stands, these glitches have been resolved in update 9702, alongside a ton of other fixes and improvements. Another particularly frustrating bug players were running into was the Destiny 2 catalysts for 1000 voices, Fafnir and Tarba not progressing as expected. I didn't even hear about that. Destiny 2's Truth exotic rocket launcher was also performing a little too well, so Bungie reduced the maximum amount of ammo from 14 to 10. Dang. The Truth was meta for 2 weeks. Remember that. In addition, the popular artifact glitch that allowed players to stack the same bonus has also been fixed, bringing the community named Stacking to a close. This was beautiful, man. We were hitting Missile Titans on Argos for almost 50% health. It was awesome. While Destiny 2's community team, including DMG, has indicated that the game may likely receive another update down the road, fans should keep their expectations in check, as it'll be much smaller in size and focus on addressing major game-breaking bugs instead of balancing the game or fixing smaller issues. Essentially, the team will have to decide whether or not something is worth fixing or could potentially break other aspects of the experience, leading to bigger problems. Yeah, this is the spaghetti code we've been talking about for years now, where they fix one thing and it inadvertently breaks other things. This is a big problem. How bugged can we leave Destiny 2? If there are big enough bugs that we can address, should we? But should we also keep in mind that in the process of fixing them, we could make things worse? So at a certain point, we're just going to call it quits, right? And there will be glitches in the game. There will be things that plague PvP. Let's be real. There's always going to be something. It's the way Destiny was designed to be at this point, especially if we're going to wind down the team to just a skeleton crew of people that are there just to make sure that the game actually functions. There will be many glitches. There will be many cheeses. Following this update, if fans come across new bugs or cheese to take advantage of, it very well could be stuck in the game forever. Yeah, the forever meta. While Destiny 2's population has skyrocketed since the Monument of Triumphs update, the renewed community passion seemingly hasn't been enough to save the game or series. I cry, dude. This sucks. Despite all the Destiny 3 efforts, Sony appears resolute in its decision to end Destiny 2 and not greenlight any more Destiny projects for the time being. That's why we're protesting. We're protesting Sony until they give us that Destiny 3. Although Destiny 2 will still be available to play, fans may be in for a lengthy wait for anything new from the Destiny franchise. So, this is Destiny 2 update 9702, just went live. We got a bunch of activity stuff fixed, Pantheon stuff fixed. Fixed an issue in the consecrated mine encounter where players tethering and at outer pylons would gain the enlightened buff when players at the central completed a tether. Oh man, that was a good glitch. We were enjoying that. Fixed issue where players could skip the damage phase on Argos by exploiting joining allies. Dang, that was a good one. We were doing that a bunch. Fixed teleport points for Callus challenge feat to be less likely to put players into unavoidably fatal locations. Rough. Fixed an issue where Callus would wipe players due to phase race or fading light, even after they had successfully completed his last stand. That was funny to watch. Some people cleared it and it still just went on and wiped them. General, we got fixed an issue in Salvation's Edge, where items were not granted when purchasing armor from the vendor in Master Mode. Oof, that's rough. So we got Salvation's Edge, Garden, and Vogue, Crowd, and King's Fall appearing in Fireteam Finder. Got all that fixed up. Dungeons, we got some stuff in Duality, Vesper, and Sunder Doctrine fixed up. That's good. Gameplay and investment. Fixed an issue where stasis turrets created with the stasis shatter grenade would not inherit the effects of Rhinecoat raiment. As I said, like the amount of bugs and craziness that's going to happen. You start fixing this and that breaks. You fix that, that breaks, this, that. I don't know, man. It's kind of a mess, you know, and Destiny 2 has been a mess for a while. It's just, we actually talked about this before the announcement. And like the list of things that was broken in the raids before this update was massive. Like there was a lengthy list of bugged things that just did not work in Desert Perpetual specifically. And going into all of this, it's like, it's awesome, you know, at a shallow level, like just playing in general, you shouldn't run into too many soft locks or issues. But sometimes when you get into like the weeds of it, right? Into the nitty gritty of like build crafting and, you know, reading different modifiers and different aspects and fragments, there's things that don't work. There's things that break your game. There's things that, you know, just completely screw everything up. And it sucks because Destiny 2 is this game with all these moving parts, and it's truly an awesome game because it has so much to it. But because it has so many moving parts, there's so much that can break at any given time. Wow. Mothkeeper's Wraps and Exterius, Shinobu's Vow gets fixed, Vesper of Radius, all these exotic shards of Galanar, Frosties, and the Pit of Heresy armor would drop with a 2.0 masterwork, rendering it unupgradable. Got you. Armor set bonuses are getting fixed a bunch from all these different armor sets that were bugging. All right, weapons, we got some exotic weapons. Ergo Sum getting fixed, Hierarchy of Needs, Turncoat, 1000 Voices, and then the nerf to the Truth Exotic. You hate to see it, but it's probably fair because it was a little too spicy. General, some crossbow bolts. This is the glitch in the bubble that gets fixed. Rocket launcher gets fixed. Sniper rifle gets fixed. Europa and Moon rocket launchers could drop with lead from gold. This was not intended. Oh man, dude, there's some crazy rolls in there. Some bugged rolls as well. That's crazy. Ability is getting fixed. Artifact obviously got fixed, so you can't do the duplicate stuff. Identity and expression getting fixed, and some general fix as well. Let me know what you think about it down in the comment section below. Obviously, there will be many investigators like Cheese Forever out there grinding and figuring out what's glitched now. And I don't know that the Bungie team, as they're going to be reduced soon, if they'll be able to keep up with the community and how much we find these cheeses. So, unfortunately, Destiny 2 could be left in a really, really weird state like 6 months from now, right? Like when Christmas is here, where is Destiny 2 going to be at in terms of the meta and the glitches and, you know, how's it going to feel jumping in and playing the game? I wonder. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. Bungie joke, of course, has patch fun. Well, the thing is, it's like the fun is not playing the game as intended, right? I'll give you an example. Like if you load it in and one sidearm could just one shot every raid boss, it's like, you know, you're not really going to play the game the right way anymore. And it's fun, but it's also like, you know, can be problematic in the long run, right? I mean, I guess we don't really need, it doesn't really matter once you get the loot, you get it. You know, it's not like you need the loot anymore. So it's like you should be playing the game for fun. If the glitches are fun, then sure. But that's why they gave it an extra week to fix them, so you could have more fun doing that. But it does, yeah, it can be a little bit annoying, I guess. I think they should fix things to a certain degree, though. I do think that like some game-breaking shit should probably be fixed because you want the game to function properly, or at least as close to properly as possible. What's good? What's good? 1K not fixed? Is it really? Is it really not? Damn, that's crazy. It's actually crazy. That's wild, yeah. Why is Sony and every other video game company obsessed with these live service games? And the answer, ironically, is in part because of this guy right here. This infamous GDC conference. Bungie, if you don't know, pioneered the live service market. And ironically, they also killed one of the most successful live service games of all time. So are they the experts or are they a bunch of goofballs? Jason Schreier, who's an industry expert in the video game world, is given a breakdown of what he thinks is the reason why everyone wants a live service game. If I had to guess the reason why, it's because it has a consistent revenue stream, whereas with the box product style of game, you're gambling. You know, you're potentially throwing in these hundreds of millions of dollars and you need an immediate return on investment. You need the game to sell really well day one. If it doesn't, then you could potentially be out a lot of money. Whereas with the live service game, you could kind of tank the arrival, right? You could tank the launch of a game. Like look at Marathon. It tanked. It lost maybe 100 to 200 million dollars in its first day. But because it's a live service game, it could potentially recoup those losses. Which, I mean, we can go check up on how Marathon's doing. And, you know, it ain't recouping any losses, right? This thing is losing more money every day. but the possibility was there. Let's see what we're cooking up.
Hello. Live service has become one of the dirtiest phrases in the video game industry. If you say it in front of a gamer, chances are they will roll their eyes, they will scoff at you, they will spit in your face, they will slap you, they will do, well, maybe not go that far. But look,
Hey, whoa, this is getting kinda
hate
kinky.
the idea of live service games, and there's a good reason for that. Over the last decade, we have seen video game companies force their studios into creating live service games, or at the very least pressure them into doing so. And as a result, we've seen some of people's favorite game studios get kind of eviscerated, or at the very least their reputations have been shattered. We've seen games like Anthem and Suicide Squad, and
RIP to my homie Anthem, dude. We barely knew you. I still got this Anthem copy sitting right here, dude. I look at it every now and again, and I dream about what could have been. I think the biggest key that happened with these live service games is that live service isn't supposed to be like your game is either box product or live service. It's not meant to be an either or decision. What I think it's actually supposed to be, in my opinion, is if your game is wildfire, if your game is very loved, then live service can work for it. Because if there's this massive audience of millions of people around the world just dying to log into your game every day, giving them consistent updates and new things to do every day is a natural progression. Like, of course, like, why would you not want to do that? Like, of course, that's going to work out. It's almost like the same thing with the movie industry with sequels, right? Like, if you launch a really successful movie, then of course, and it makes like millions and millions of dollars, of course you're going to be like, yeah, I'm going to make a sequel, and then I'm going to make a sequel to the sequel. And then I'm saying eventually you're down the line and you've got, all these movies with so many sequels. And if the franchise is really loved and people love that story building, the sequels are incredible and they keep that audience engaged. I think of some incredible movies. Obviously, Lord of the Rings is one of the best examples, right? Imagine if Lord of the Rings was just one movie altogether. Like, that'd be crazy different. And the opposite side of that, though, is imagine you launch a shit movie, a movie that doesn't do well, but because you're committed to sequels already, like let's say the movie is just completely trash. Like, what's a movie that absolutely tanked? Tron Ares, do you see that one? A movie that absolutely just is a box office shitter. Well, if you're committed to making 5 sequels and the first one sucks, it's like you don't have an audience to make the 5 sequels. Like, what are you even talking about? It's like you have this vision for this thing, but it's built off, it's like a house built on sand. Like, it's not going to work, man. It's just such a bad idea. So what all these games should be trying to do is make the absolute best product possible. And if it's wildfire, if people like it, then yeah, transition to live service. I think that's part of the problem that went with Marathon, is that Marathon was already propped up to be a live service game and have all these updates, right? They talked about season 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? So they're already talking about the second year of the game. But that shit's not going to year 2. Like, there's no way that game is sustainable in making it to year 2 at this stage, right? So what are we doing? The game doesn't have mass appeal. It should have been a box product game. It should have just launched and then lived its life cycle, and then people could appreciate it for the piece of art that it was, etc., and then move on to the next thing. But because it's like forced into this treadmill, this literal hamster wheel of live service, we still have to keep seeing these constant Marathon updates, and this game is continuously burning more and more money every month. And that's the big problem, is that we're taking IPs that aren't proven to be successful and we're turning them into live service when they shouldn't be.
Anymore come out to negative reception and mediocre commercial success as a result of the companies behind them saying, hey, you single player studio that is really good at making games in a specific genre, why don't you now try making a multiplayer live service game. But what exactly is a live service game, and why have they become such a popular trend? Why do companies want them so badly? Why has Sony once said, why did Sony say a few years ago they were going to make at least 12 live service games, much to
Man,
fans'
boy, how did that did not pan out well for them, right? They made 12 live service disasters.
chagrin. I think it's really important to understand this, because rather than just getting angry online about this trend, which don't get me wrong, it's okay to do, I think it's important to get why it's happening. So let's go back in time a little bit. There was once an era, let's call it, I don't know, 2000 to 2010, when big game companies could find a lot of success by releasing a string of new games every year, multiple new games every year, so-called AAA games that were considered high-end graphical fidelity for the time, that maybe cost between, I don't know, let's call it $10 to $30 million to produce, and that were pretty reliably going to sell at least 1 million copies and make their companies a significant amount of money. Something changed over the course of the 2010s and into the 2020s, which is that these games started to cost a lot more. We've seen games go from $20 to $30 million to make to $200 to $300 million to make. And that's kind of the floor for AAA games these days. You can see some of my previous videos for why games have taken so long.
And speaking of that, we recently got a report that Call of Duty, the last few of them were like somewhere around the $700 million range. Think about that. $700 million for COD. God damn.
To make, and also why they cost so much to make. But that is what happened. As a result of that, it was no longer possible to just spend your way to success. Games these days that spend upwards of $300+ million are requiring so much, such a sales threshold to actually see a return on that investment, that is no longer possible to just brute force your way into a hit. As a result, companies have looked around and said, hey, this is a volatile hit-driven industry. It's always been a volatile hit-driven industry, but in the past, we could at least find some success by just consistently releasing games in these hit franchises and then making sequels out of them, and continuing to try new things, and we would generally get results. Now, the stakes are too high. The costs are too big, the lengths of these development cycles are too long, so we can't do that anymore. Well, what can we do? How can we make sure that we stay solvent and stay afloat and continuing making money, whether we're privately owned and we're just making money for our investors and our owners, or we are publicly owned and we are continually making a profit and seeing growth for our shareholders? That is kind of our reason for existence, is to do that. So, and again, we're not talking about indies here. That's a different world that I'll get into in a future video. We're talking about the kind of the big budget, the companies that are trying to make the big bucks out of video games, the Ubisofts and EAs and Activisions of the world. At the same time, we are seeing an explosion in so-called live service games. Now, live service games have been around for a very long time. The idea of a live service game is essentially a game. Man, I should have started with this, but hey, I don't edit here. I just record raw, so I'm going to give a definition of live service right now. A live service game is a video game that is designed for recurring monetization. It is as simple as that. I've seen a lot of people get this wrong, use this as kind of use this in the wrong way, use that term to describe games that are absolutely not live service games. Most notably, there were headlines a couple of months ago when that game from the Imagine Dragons people came out, Last Flag. There were headlines that called it a live service game. That was not a live service game. That was a game you bought once and you played multiplayer, but there was no recurring monetization in that game. A live service game is a game that has recurring monetization, period.
Interesting.
It can be a single player game. Usually it is a multiplayer game. Some developers have released single player games that just will continue to get expansions and new content that is sold.
Someone said Imagine Dragons. Yeah, there's one of the members of Imagine Dragons made a game called Last Flag, I believe. And unfortunately it tanked terribly. They're not shutting the project down, but it ain't going to be around too much longer.
piecemeal, that is a live service game. But most of the time, it is an online game that has some sort of monetization that is designed for recurring spend. In other words, they want players to start playing the game and keep spending money over time. One of the most popular.
So there's an interesting working definition that we're going with here where it's focused on the monetization. And I mean, I guess that's the definition we're working with under these parameters. For the most part, I see live service as a game that continuously updates over and over and over again and maintains its studio size because they have essentially a live team of people that are working on the new content and the next new thing. And so the idea for some of these studios, not all of them, but it's like, you launch your product and then you, like for Borderlands, right? They like launch it and then there's many years and then there's the next one, like there's 3 and then there's 4 and then there's 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, right? Like that's probably where Borderlands goes. And they begin development on the next iteration, whereas live service is they stay on the current iteration of the game and update it over and over and over again, new updates, changing the sandbox, adding new cosmetics, right? And so I think that the live updates with the monetization is the accurate definition of live service, more so than just monetization, but I mean, it's kind of a nitpicky issue, I guess.
Live service games way back in the day was EverQuest, one of the first big, or certainly the biggest MMO for its era, which came out in 1999 and required people to not only buy a box product, but also pay monthly for a subscription, which of course led to a lot of recurring revenue. Then came World of Warcraft, which really exploded that formula. It took EverQuest subscribers and multiplied them by 10 and then by 20. Even bigger version of a live service game that really just kind of dominated Blizzard and turned it into such a powerhouse over the years. Then we saw other examples of that. League of Legends was another prominent live service game. Counter-Strike, many more. Dota 2. But really, it was Fortnite that really set the dollar signs.
Yep, someone said that in the chat. They said everyone saw Fortnite, and that was the powder keg, right? That was the one that blew everything up. Fortnite.
Visions of dollar
battle
signs
passes
into the heads of executives worldwide. And that's because Fortnite was one of the most popular. Fortnite came out and became a cultural phenomenon. It reached millions and millions and millions of people and got them in for free. It was free to play. You could just jump in, download it without paying a cent, and then got them paying for skins, for costumes, for dances, for all sorts of stuff. And kept them playing through this kind of just never-ending model of adding new stuff to the game, changing the maps, adding new seasons full of content, adding new characters, and so on and so forth. So every company looked over that and said, hey, wow, these live service games can be pretty popular and can make a bunch of money. We should get some of those. And there were a couple of reasons for that. I mean, first and foremost, it's because that's an easy way to make money. And a lot of these companies are just jumping on trends as often as possible, as we saw a few years ago during the era of NFTs, which was quickly followed by the era of metaverse, when pretty much every game company, whether or not they'll admit it now, was talking about how NFTs were going to be the future on their earnings calls, and in a way to appease investors that thought that NFTs were going to be the future, which is just
NFTs tanked horribly. That was crazy. What a crazy time. And yeah, notice the similarities, like what we mentioned earlier, which is that Fortnite had wild success and live service. Right? I think those two go together in tandem. You're not going to get a game that has maybe like very minimal, very mediocre success and then be able to pivot into that live service model. I think that live service works well because you're going to have that like initial drop off of people that play your game early and then leave. Like not everyone wants to commit a career to playing a particular game. They bounce around. They play this genre. They play that genre. Every week they're playing a different game. Every month they're playing multiple different games, right? So live service needs to have a really high ceiling or a really good start at the beginning, at the launch, and then you can withstand the, essentially the second season drop off, right? Because there's going to should be a substantial drop off from the first season to the second. Not always is, I guess, but generally there will be something like that. And the live service can mitigate that and sustain a level of monetization that ordinarily you wouldn't see, because normally you just sell your game at the start and then you still sell it throughout each period of time, but you just sell way more at the beginning. than later on.
I mean, I think even at the time, most people realized how silly that was. But anyway, the point is that the games industry is very much a trend chasing industry. When League of Legends came out, everyone wanted to do MOBAs. When World of Warcraft came out, everyone wanted to do MMOs. Ultimately, you only see a couple of winners out of these trends, but it is a trend driven industry. And we've seen it's very much a copycat industry. We've seen that happen over and over again. So a lot of these executives are looking at live service games and saying, hey, I went in on that trend. I went in on that money. And that is kind of reason number one, of course. But there's another reason, a more existential reason, a reason that I think follows more sound logic than just, I want money, that makes money, give me one of those. And that reason is that a live service game can be the backbone of your company and allow you to keep making money in an industry that is volatile and can otherwise lead you to fall apart if you release a few bad bets, which is what happened to Ubisoft. Ubisoft, for people who haven't been following, really peaked in 2017 or 2018 or so with some of their games that were really big hits, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey and The Division 2, and then shortly afterwards had a string of really big flops that led to the company really struggling in recent years. If you look at their stock chart over the last decade or so, it kind of looks like this, like it's like a good comparison might be, if you are a basketball fan, the win probability chances of the Spurs against the Knicks for 4 games, which is like Anyway, so some of these companies, they look at live service games and they say, hey, that is recurring revenue. That can help us keep afloat when our games are not, when our games are a lot riskier. It is you are mitigating risk when you have a game that continually makes money, because you are not reliant on waiting 4, 5, 6, 7 years for a game to actually come out and then seeing if it'll hit. Because if you are a company that is just releasing games, a new game every 5 years and spending, I don't know, $200 million on that game, you are really hoping that it is going to sell between, I don't know, 8 and 15 million copies, because you not only need to make back the money that you spent on that game, you also need to sustain your company moving forward. And that is a really difficult business to be in. That is a really tough proposition that a lot of companies have struggled with. And that is why all of the successful game publishers that we see these days have some sort of live service game as their backbone. Take-Two Interactive is one of the biggest game publishers. They have 2. They have NBA 2K, which is, granted, that's an annualized game franchise, so it's a little bit different than your average live service, but a large chunk of that revenue, of the money they make from NBA 2K, their basketball series, comes from people spending money in the game. Those are live service games where you can spend money to buy all sorts of stuff. If you're in, there are different modes within the game. A lot of them are just very heavy on the microtransactions and on getting people to spend money to play them and to get good within them. They also have GTA Online, which is one of the biggest things on the planet. GTA 5. By the way, sometimes I like to quiz people, even people in the games industry. I'm like, how many copies do you think GTA 5 has sold? And
it's crazy. I actually know this. I didn't look this up beforehand. I'm pretty sure GTA 5 sold, I think it was 245 million copies. It's just like, when you look at Marathon, you're like, it's insane, right? Let me see if I'm right. Please be right. Please.
sometimes they'll be like, oh, 50 million, oh, 100 million copies. Yeah, pretty big. It's a pretty big game, right? And I'll blow their minds a little bit when I'll be like, GTA 5, Grand Theft Auto 5 has sold 230 million
Dang
copies.
it, close.
Down the road, when we get closer to GTA 6, I'll be reporting a lot on Bloomberg and talking a lot about why that game is going to be such a smash hit and why the expectations are so high for that game, to the point where everybody is moving their release dates to get out of the way of it. And the biggest reason is that the last game has sold, once again, 230 million copies. It is
Crazy.
the second best-selling game of all time, second only to Minecraft, which kind of an unfair comparison because Minecraft is much less money and also is available on phones, whereas GTA is only PC and consoles. So really, if you're looking at console games, I mean, GTA 5 is the biggest of all time. And GTA Online is recurring revenue, is a live service that continually makes money by selling players shark cards and whatever else. And so that those two games, NBA 2K and GTA, have really kept Take-Two going, even as some of its games have either been hits or misses. It's released some games that have been misses. Marvel's Midnight Suns was a miss for that, which is unfortunate because that was a really good game. Civilization 7 wasn't quite the hit they wanted it to be, although I think it did okay. Borderlands 4 wasn't a big hit for them. Mafia: The Old Country did pretty well last year, but it wasn't. Again, these are just kind of these hits or misses. You can withstand some misses if you have this backbone of recurring revenue. Other companies have it too. I mean, Microsoft, Xbox, they have plenty of problems, but they also have Minecraft, which is a very helpful baseline as for recurring revenue. Sony found some success. PlayStation found some success with Helldivers 2. Epic Games obviously has Fortnite, Riot Games has League of Legends, Blizzard has World of Warcraft and Overwatch, and really Blizzard, all of their games are live service games. Since World of Warcraft, all of their games have turned into these kind of...
And Sony had Destiny 2 until recently. Man, that hurts.
Guardian down.
never-ending franchise, never-ending games that just live on forever with recurring monetization of some sort. And in fact, Blizzard over the years has put an early end to at least a couple of games because there was no way to have recurring monetization for them. For example, Diablo 3, which that's a whole nother story. I wrote about that in Play Nice, my Blizzard book, but essentially it was going to have a second expansion that was canceled before it even got off the ground, before Reaper of Souls, the first expansion, even came out. And one of the reasons for that is because Diablo 3 didn't have a viable form of recurring monetization. They tried with the Real Money Auction House, but that was a big failure that players hated. And so as a result, they did not have a real form of recurring monetization, which made that second expansion seem less viable to the people who ran Blizzard at the time. So live service, it can really be this kind of this infrastructure that keeps you afloat and makes you less susceptible to failure if you do release one of these big risky games and it is not a huge hit. And so that's why we're seeing so many of these companies just pursue that model. Again, a lot of it is just kind of simple, let's call it, I don't know, greed is not the right word because it isn't about kind of, when we use greedy to refer to companies, we're kind of taking human motivations and applying them to machines that really do not operate like humans. When you are running EA, you are not acting out of greed. You are acting out of being part of a system where your duty is to be to maximize shareholder value, and so therefore you are doing what you think will make as much money as possible for shareholders, not because of your personal greed, although you might have some of that, but that's not what motivates you. What motivates you is doing your job and trying to do that successfully. So greed is really the wrong word, but it's these companies are just trying.
We've just disguised the greed under fancy terms, but we know what greed is. And you are greedy, EA. Fuck you guys.
To maximize their profits, and they're trying to minimize their risk, and live service games are a way to do that. Now, you might argue that these days trying to get a live service off the ground is actually more risky than trying to release a single player product. And I think that companies are looking around and trying to find other ways to mitigate risk and maybe withdrawing a little bit from the live service world. But still, I mean, live service is still the most lucrative.
The reason why live service is most lucrative, it's an interesting thing. It's like the chicken and the egg, right? Is live service the most lucrative? No. What is lucrative are certain IPs, certain ideas and concepts are wildfire that even if they were handled in that box product way, they would still be blockbuster hits. They would still be multi-billion-dollar corporations funding them, in my opinion. And the problem is, and I say problem lightly, but there's only so much room, there's only so much air in the room, basically, for these copycats and these similar games, right? There can't just be like 45 different spin-off style movies that look like Lord of the Rings, but aren't Lord of the Rings, that also do as successful as Lord of the Rings, right? There's just the one Lord of the Rings, and that's it. And there's others that have a similar tone maybe, but you can't just like mix up the characters and mix up the world and change some of the names and then launch it again and have that same success again, right? There can only be the one Lord of the Rings, right? There can only be that one Harry Potter IP, right? And there's of course copycats, there's of course similars, but they never get that same outcome, right? And I think you'll notice that with that live service, like that infinity gauntlet that he basically referenced, you'll notice that each one that he referenced, it's almost like a different genre, and each one has a very distinguishable, unique aesthetic, art style, and the IP is totally different from one to the next. We're looking at Minecraft, right? He's talking about League of Legends. He's talking about World of Warcraft at one point, Fortnite, right? Each of these, even as I say these, there's probably a visual image in your mind of what that looks like and what makes it so uniquely different from some of those other games. And I think that's the key here, is that there's a certain archetype of a game that will exist and permeate above all other games. And yeah, you can pimp that game out and turn it into a live service game if you want, but it's the idea that's interesting. It's the concept that's interesting. It's not the live service that's pumping out the money for Minecraft. It's the concept of what Minecraft stands for. And you can't necessarily replicate that so many times. There's a few other games that are kind of doing it. Like Minecraft is like the sandbox style game, and now you have this other game, Hytale, it's doing pretty good. You also have Roblox, which is really eating away and really gaining momentum, right? But they all stem from almost like a similar concept that leads into that game. And I think that's the more interesting part. I think that the concept of a sandbox game is a $1 trillion idea. I do. And whether it's called Minecraft or whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's just Minecraft was like the first and the most established. And now you're seeing others, because that idea is so expensive and that idea is so interesting. But I think that's really where it comes from. I don't think that the live service is really what's the draw for most people. Like, you're not interested in a game. You're not searching for a game like that's live service. You're just searching for an interesting game.
Area you can go into. It's still recurring revenue. It's still revenue that will just continue to be stable and be a backbone for your company and can help make up for some of those flops. But yeah, these days, I mean, I think a lot of companies are looking around and saying, hey, how can we mitigate risk by making these games take less time and cost less money to make, which is something that I'm certainly keeping an eye on and asking a lot of game companies about, and trying to figure out what that future looks like, because it's clear we're at a point of no return for the video game industry. I've talked many times in the past, years and years ago, about how things did not seem viable. This did not seem like a tenable industry. And I think we've reached the tipping point, that's for sure. But if you're wondering why companies like BioWare and Rocksteady and Naughty Dog and so many more have chased this live service dragon over the years, the reason is because having a live service game can really help make up for the volatility that has been part of the video game industry for a long time. All right, see you all next time.
There it is. That was Jason Schreier's breakdown. And someone said Minecraft and Roblox. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like I said before, these categories, they're generalized. They're not hyper specific. So yes, the Minecraft and Roblox are obviously very different games, but the similar concept is there, and they are generally considered both sandbox style games. Now, where they go from there, it's very different, right? A good example of this as well is like in shooter games, like Destiny's a shooter game and Call of Duty's a shooter game. They're both considered that arcade style, right? It's an arcade shooter style game. Halo is also somewhat in that light as well. And then you go to a game like Battlefield, and it's kind of like that, but it's a little bit more military style. But by and large, Call of Duty, Battlefield, you can see there's a lot of similarities. They're shooter games, right? You could have an overarching generalization calling them both shooter games. They are technically both shooter games, but they're obviously very different in how you play Battlefield and how you play Call of Duty, even if the aesthetic can look pretty similar at times, right? Same thing with Minecraft and Roblox. And that's why I think it's an interesting premise for what games are becoming live service. And I think that we just have the wrong order of events. We should really work to make a game successful or see if it's wildfire and then transition into the live service. But let me know what you think about it down in the comment section below. Maybe you think differently than me. All right, we got to do our raffle right now. Raffle is happening, chat. It's going down. We're giving away this bad boy. Here we go. Here we go. This is completely free to you. Yes. Yes. This is a bonus for you watching my streams. And if you continue to watch them, we have many other. Look at these. See, the shelves are filled with. You can't see all of them, but there's like 10 more replicas over here. And we're going to be giving these away on stream until they're all gone, I guess. I mean, today we're giving away this one. Let me pull this up. Stream Elements. Good, good, good. All right. Window capture. Stream Elements. We're going to the loyalty section. Let's look at the leaderboard. We got Steve with 7,000 points. All right. Some people got some crazy amounts of points. We're going to make the maximum bet for this one. We're going to make it 5,000 points. All right. So that way, those that view that we're grinding can win this. Okay, so how does this raffle work? Giveaway right here. Replica. Okay. And it's going to be, the cost is going to be 1 point to enter, and the maximum tickets is going to be 5,000. Creating and starting it. So now if you see your name on the side here, this means that you've entered in. We'll give people, 5 or 10 minutes to enter. And if you win, I'm going to whisper you on Twitch, and we're going to mail this Sunshot replica to you. It's not functioning. It doesn't shoot bullets, so you don't have to worry about that. But it is a really, really close replica of the Sunshot in Destiny 2. Does not have paracausal powers. And Red Pill and X Splicet, thank you for the Prime subs. Appreciate you. You're too kind. Thanks for being a pillar in our community. Hey, thank you, Raymond. Happy to have that. And I appreciate you giving me your thoughts and ideas about different stuff, All right, let's see where we're at. All right, we got a lot of people entered in. Enter, enter, enter. We're going to give you a few minutes. I'm going to step aside to the bathroom. I'll be right back. BRB. right. All right, beautiful people. Oh, let's pull that back up. All right, here we go. Let's pull up the winner. If you win, what I'm gonna message you on Twitch, and you're gonna have to send me. You have to send me your first and last name and your address where you want it mailed to. And yes, I will mail it worldwide. So don't stress if you're in Uzbekistan, we'll mail it to you. But this is the last one we're doing for just completely free. The future ones will be based on different sub goals. We'll set that in the future. So in future streams, maybe we'll do a combination of like the points you earn plus when we hit the sub goals. So watching the streams will still be racking up the points, but we will, have different incentives before. We've been doing it on a 2-week giveaway where every 2 weeks we give one away. But now that we're running out of them and I have a few left, I want to give them away in a more special way, in a more epic manner, right? So we'll announce a whole new system for giving away the last like 5 or 6 that I have, I think. But for now, this works good for us. So let's do this. Again, we've given away almost 20 now for free. So we've done a lot. I've been mailing these things out, dude. I'm literally hand mailing, taping these boxes and shit, putting bubble wrap in them. Here we go. Whoever wins, congrats. Enjoy your replica. Everyone that's won this so far has sent me a screenshot of it. So continue to do that. Tag me on Twitter. Closing the giveaway now. Close and drawing a winner. And the winner is the Ray Gun. Congrats to the Ray Gun. You won. The Ray Gun wins. Let's see here. Yes. Yes. You win. Congrats. That's all yours. And now what we're going to do is we're going to wipe the points. And the next one we'll give away, you'll still need the points, but we're going to reset the points altogether. Awesome sauce. All right, perfect. So now you're back at 0 points. Every 1 minute you watch the stream, you earn a point. Keep that in mind. I'm going to message you. You won Sunshot Replica. Send first and last name and address to mail it to. All right, perfect. Cool. That was fun. I complained about worldwide shipping. I did complain about worldwide shipping before, but since I'm doing this as the last one, we'll let people enter. Like I said, even before I said you could enter, but we'll give you an emblem. But yeah. And yeah, if you're overseas, like I said, it's fine. I'll send this out to you. I don't mind. I'll send it out to you. Yeah, they won before, and that last time they actually won, but they were overseas, so they won the emblem. So how perfect is that? They won before, and because they were overseas, I gave them the emblem, but this time they won, and I'm gonna send them the actual replica then. So congrats to them. They are the first. They won it twice, and this time you're getting the actual gun. Enjoy. This bad boy's coming to you, Ray Gun. Send the address. Send location. All right. I got to head out for the night chat, but we'll see you back here tomorrow, okay? Thank you for the follows, the subs, the bits, the donations. Turn notifications on, and we'll be back tomorrow grinding more news stories and covering content. We got all of these. We got these from they make them at Blasters for Masters. And so we got a bunch of extras here. I have Thorn, Ace, 2 more aces, 2 more thorns, a crimson, and I even have an ace of spades here as well. So we got lots to give away. I'll see you later. Before I gave them, I'm not giving away an emblem anymore, but that was an emblem for, they won the raffle, but they were overseas. No, it's good. All right, see you later. Have a good night, everyone. Until tomorrow.